Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, where we will delve into the minds of the business people we have met in the process of launching our first card game. We will be uncovering their secrets to success, their biggest mistakes, and sharing the key lessons they have picked up en route. So, if you're looking for an engaging chinwag mixed with business insights and a good pinch of fun, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today, I am joined by Peter Grainger, co-founder of CafePod, who launched 12 years ago to provide the first Nespresso-compatible coffee pods to provide barista-style coffee to people at home. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, happy to be here. Looking forward to this.
I am very much looking forward to talking all things coffee. And I have to admit that I hadn't really drank coffee probably till about 10 years ago. To me, it was the thing I had as maybe, going out with friends and before going out on a night out, I think I'll have a little bit of a black coffee to get me going. But it wasn't something I saw for enjoyment or taste. And it was only when going over to Australia and living there that I sort of got drawn into this coffee culture. And yes, I couldn't escape it. And now, yes, it's certainly a big coffee fan, I will say. How about you? Do you drink much coffee? You have a coffee business?
I do. I drink a lot of coffee, actually. I definitely think I'm kind of an in-life experiment for how can you increase your tolerance for coffee. So yeah, I probably have 5 cups a day, maybe. But I just enjoy it. I think my journey in actual coffee, like drinking coffee, is not too dissimilar to everybody else's. Kind of grew up drinking it at home. I mean, we grew up on, I'm originally from South Africa, and we grew up on Nescafe. That was the fancy coffee in our house. So that was on the top shelf when the guests arrived. And then, kind of as it become, you get out of school and it becomes a bit of a social thing. And then in the UK, Starbucks came along and go to Starbucks. But yeah, pretty much the same as everybody else until I decided to start selling it for a living.
Yes. And so tell us a little bit about that. Tell us why, 12 years ago, you decided to get into the coffee industry.
I'd love to tell you there was a grand plan. I think like a lot of businesses, maybe some will admit, some won't, that we kind of stumbled into it. And like a lot of small businesses, we looked at it and went, that doesn't look too hard. I like coffee. Everybody likes coffee. This should be fairly straightforward. So I'd kind of finished my stint working in the city and in finance, and I'd done some traveling and just kind of stumbled across somebody running a coffee business and ended up chatting to 2 friends about it. And they, like me, liked coffee and were always open to new things. And we were like, let's give it a go. And that's kind of how it started. We're like, everybody loves coffee. So
how hard can it be?
Literally, famous last words. Very, very hard if you're looking for that answer.
Wow. Because, what was the coffee landscape like 12 years ago?
I mean, Starbucks had come into the UK, and it wasn't too dissimilar from today, at least the out of home, like on the high street. I mean, there's just more and more and more and more. I think the biggest change between now and then is we have a lot more of the premium, higher end artisanal coffee shops. That real wave was very niche. There was almost still a novelty to the high street coffee chains, but the mantle of that kind of qualitative message or product had been handed over to the smaller kind of artisanal chains and independent coffee stores. But yeah, it's actually changed. I mean, the quality that you can now buy in general has jumped dramatically, and accessibility to that. So it hasn't, but it has, which is amazing to see.
Yeah. And when you guys started the CafePod business, what was the initial plan? Was it pods or was it coffee just in general?
Yeah, famous plans. And so we initially looked at it and went, okay, pods are growing in popularity. You can't really get whatever coffee you want on the pod system you want to drink it on. And at that time, most people had an Nespresso system, and there was an opportunity to kind of be able to make your own pods. And ultimately, we kind of took a consumer view and went, if I buy a coffee machine, I want to drink the coffee I want to drink, and I want to be able to buy it from where I buy coffee. So our initial kind of vision was to be the go-to manufacturing partner, so that when all the brands who wanted to get into pods because nobody had been able to do that up until then. We would be the go-to partner. Now the challenge is none of the three of us all came from kind of finance backgrounds. None of us knew about manufacturing or sales or marketing or retail or coffee or branding. So it looked great on paper. But we set off to do it, and we kind of cracked on and with that vision until we went to talk to the consumer, who I've learned is really important to talk to. And they were like, so in this case, we were talking to brands and supermarkets, and they were like, no, we're not interested in our brand at the moment, but we'll take your brand. And that hadn't even crossed our mind. Like, oh, okay. Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. So originally the thinking was that you would be perhaps a white label product that other organizations and company brands would take on.
Yeah, more kind of behind the scenes and really empowering other brands to get their products into this format so that their customers could enjoy. If you liked Miro, if you liked Union, if you liked Square Mile, if you liked whatever it was, we would be the facilitator of that. Maybe we were too. I mean, that's if you look at the market today, that happened, but we were a little bit not too early. Well, we were a little bit too early. People were very tentative, but also we didn't know what we didn't know, which is the classic small business entrepreneurial mindset. You only discover when it's too late, and then you have no choice but to crack on and keep going.
Yes, and they often say, timing is everything in business. And as you said, you were maybe just a bit before these other organisations have thought about going into the pods, but obviously, it must have then, where you are now today, be pretty exciting and great that you did proceed down your own brand path.
I mean, ultimately, it was the right decision and long-term for the business. And I think what you also learn as you start your own business and you talk to other business owners and you read is that there are a lot of businesses that where they end up is not where they initially started.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Call it pivoting, call it plan B, C, D, but it's actually quite frightening how often that is the case. And you learn about kind of evolving your offering and your market fit to the most important person out there, which is the customer. And ultimately, you're trying to create value, and the more you talk to them, you realize where they're missing things. And you can think, oh, the customer needs this or the customer needs that, but not until, which is what we did in the beginning. We're like, oh, this is the need that needs fulfilling. But in reality, as we evolved the business, we found other needs that we were probably more suited to fulfilling. And I suppose being a large-scale manufacturer probably wasn't in our core skill set.
Yeah.
So, I think it's worked out.
Fantastic. And at what stage did you guys go for investment? How far into the journey were you?
So because of our initial plan, we needed manufacturing equipment. It was a capex heavy type business, so we needed money from the get-go. So our business really couldn't start unless we had investment. So so we've always lived in that world of having to have investors and raise money to fund the business plan, which is challenging. And I think if you're a first-time business owner and founder, you don't fully appreciate the complexities that come with a lot of this stuff. Whatever route you choose to kind of fund your business or not, whether you do it yourself or you get external people, there's always pros and cons that come with that. But if you've never done it before, you don't know what you don't know. And it's been an incredible journey, and the people that we've gained as supporters and investors on the way have been incredible. But yeah, we've always been in that kind of investor funded business.
Yeah. And do you think it was easier sort of roughly 12 years ago going for investment, or is it easier now?
I think it's all relative. I think we started in a recession. We're about, we've gone full cycle. as you know, I think when you're having hard times, you wish things were easier, but actually you realize that you only move your business forward and grow when things are challenging, and you've really got to think about how you make it through, and it ends up being beneficial for the business because you've had to really think about it. And as we're seeing at the moment, easy money can create problems, and when there's easy money, you get good at spending money, not making money. So, you know, and one of those skill sets is very important, and one of them isn't. And unfortunately, we've all, and I put myself in that camp, that we've all learned that lesson the hard way. That raising your business model is not raising money. It's creating value and creating revenue off the back of that, profitable revenue, but actually having easy money. You don't practice those disciplines, and you end up not being self-sufficient enough.
Yeah. What challenges have you faced along the way?
I mean, there's all sorts. There's business challenges. There's people challenges. There's environmental, as in our competitive environment. I mean, some of the big stuff you learn, like we learned early on. So when you get into manufacturing, if you haven't done manufacturing before, you learn some very hard lessons. One of them was that we produced some products, quite a lot of products, for one of the big supermarkets in the UK, and because we were all learning still how to make this product with all this new manufacturing equipment and still learning the nuances of it, and we got something wrong, and we produced just a container, probably more, of product, which we realized after we sent it to the customer didn't work. So we had to recall that. And as a small business, that is just, well, at the point you think it's the end of the world. So yeah, making smaller mistakes is probably preferable to making bigger mistakes. But yeah, that was quite a big learning curve.
At what point did you and the team realize that the product had a problem?
This is going back probably 10 years ago. I can't actually remember if it was through customer feedback or we actually realized afterwards. I actually can't remember, but it was, the thing is, when you're making our products, once you make it into the product, you can't unmake it. You can't like open the bags up and reprint the t-shirts type thing. It was like, these don't do what they're supposed to do, so we can't really do anything with them. So
what is probably good is you've obviously been able to just forget that moment, that traumatic moment.
So many more since then. It's just it's just every day seems to be. I think one of the things you get good at when you have your own business is every day, especially when you begin, everything is life and death. Every challenge is like trying to kill you. Like if you get this wrong, we die. If we do that, if that goes wrong, we die. So it becomes a matter of survival, and especially, when you're still trying to get to break even, or like every day you go less and less money. So you get good at just sticking your head down and right, what's the next thing we need to solve? And you get better at not taking it emotionally, going, we need to solve this, let's get it done. And through that process, you learn to manage your emotions. So you learn to not react to the super high. We used to react if we're trying to sell something to like a supermarket, and we got an email back from a buyer. We used to be elated. We're like, oh my God, we've made it. They've replied back to us. And then we haven't heard back in 2 days. And then we've hit this low. Oh my God, like the business is going down. So you learn to kind of, nothing is as good as you think it is, but equally nothing is as bad as you think it is. And you learn to kind of manage that range. And solving problems becomes almost like a muscle, where the more you practice, the more you get better at it, and the more you get better at thinking about problems, but you also get confidence in your problem-solving ability. So when you see something and people are like, oh my God, this is life and death, you're like, yeah, it might be. But we've had about 223 of those before, and we've made it through all of those. So let's go through the process, and you kind of start just backing yourself. Not to say, you don't want to get into arrogant, but you kind of you don't have this emotional reaction to it as much. Now, the problems do get bigger, and there are still ones where you take a deep breath, but you also get good on pulling in your network and going, right, I might not be able to solve this, but there are plenty of people out there who have solved these. I think one of the things you realize is no problems are new. So actually what we've realized is you get really good at finding people who've already solved the problems. Like, right, is it logistic? Is it product? Is it branding? Is it marketing? Is it people? Okay, none of this stuff is new.
Yes.
So you got to know somebody, or somebody's got to know somebody who's had this challenge before, and you just ask them, how did you deal with it? And you get good at that as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a big supporter of remote working.
Yes.
In your team. Tell us a little bit about how you moved into remote working format. And do you see any limitations for team communication being fully remote?
There is no one size fits all for anything. And anybody who says, and this is for any part of life, there isn't a this is good and that is bad. It's all, there's context, it depends. Remote working has its pros and cons, as does in-office working, as does hybrid. It depends on the nature of your business. It depends on your infrastructure. I think it depends on the type of people who you've got working for your business. Are they young? Are they old? Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? What kind of work is being done? What's your values within your business? What type of people have you hired? So I think if you don't take the time to really build it from the ground up, you can have challenges. Exactly the same as, anybody can hire an office and throw people in, but does that make it a good business? Does that mean you've got good communication? And I think the problem with one of the big differences, if we're specifically talking about communication, is in an office you get a lot of passive communication, informal communication, which has its place. But I think a lot of businesses overly rely on formal communication happening through passive and informal chats. You and I will have a chat, and I'm sure you'll chat to some other people, and eventually they'll all kind of figure out. But every time that conversation happens, broken telephone's happening. And I think this is where you have issues with clarity of message, objectives, actually what's been said from the top, et cetera, is that flowing down? And I think it's kind of like when you lose one of your senses, you hear the classic stories of if somebody goes deaf or blind, actually their other senses heighten. And I think what has happened is when you take away the ability to be in person, you actually start focusing, going, well, if I can't see the other person, or I can't just chat to them in the kitchen, how do I actually communicate this? So you start moving from this passive to this active. I actually have to be deliberate in my communication. I actually have to make an effort, which makes your communication more proactive. And if you've got more proactive communication, then your messages, so you're thinking about the message. So it moves from this unconscious to this conscious thinking, which then makes you think about everything, which starts making you a better business. So it's almost too easy in an office, whereas here you've got one hand tied behind your back, so you actually have to focus and be better. And a classic example of that for me is when new people start. So I don't think we're any different to a lot of smaller businesses and even bigger businesses. When a new person starts, they go, we forgot to, we haven't ordered your a computer yet. Oh, your logins. Sit with Bob over there. He'll just take you through some stuff. And then 3 days later, they still haven't got access to a computer. And what am I doing? So it's a bit kind of wishy-washy.
It's so true. So true.
Whereas in a remote business, when you have a new starter, you have somebody who's logging into their computer at home. Well, do they even have a computer? Like, they literally, if they don't have a computer, so you need to have a computer on day one. But they're going to sit there and log in and sit there and think, and now? You literally, they know nothing about anything. So then it forces you to think about, well, what do they need to know? What do I need to tell them? What do they need to learn? Well, they need to know this, and then somebody says, well, what about this? Oh, yeah, that's true. So you start building, and suddenly you realize there's so much stuff, but you can't just hope that they will ask the question. So what it's meant in our case is we've built out this onboarding process, which is so thorough and so detailed and so deliberate that it has made the induction and the introduction to the business a very important part of the process and the part of our brand, and this is how we do things. So that is a great, for us, is a great example. And we've been doing this for over 10 years, and I'm like, and every time, so I've got a templates onboarding process now, and every time somebody talks about something, going, oh, we should tell people about that, and you start just enriching this process. So over time, it just gets better and better and better. And now when people come through the onboarding process, they get to the end, they go, that's the best onboarding process I've ever had.
It does. It forces you, as you said, to just think a bit differently, put the effort in different places, and not just take it for granted that you're all sitting in the same space and actually are people connecting, communicating, or being as efficient and effective anyway.
I think what it also forces you to do is, and I mean, I've been in this environment, and I think most businesses are like this. You kind of management by sight. You're not management by work or output. You're management by who got in first, who left, who's sitting at their desk, where's so-and-so. Oh, they've gone out for a half an hour lunch. Like,
yes,
nothing to do with the work.
Yeah.
So with remote working, suddenly you're like, well, I can't see who's online. But then you're like, do I care who's online? What do I really care about? Well, I care about the outputs. I care about, are we doing what we said we were going to do? Is the quality good? And so you kind of get into focusing on the stuff that actually matters.
We should attach a link for interested employment to this podcast. So I'm sure people listening will be like, this sounds like a fantastic place to work.
What we've noticed is it attracts a certain type of person. It attracts a person who is like, they back their own work ethic. They're like, I want to be part of a team. I get stuff done. Tell me what you need me. Tell me what we're trying to do here. Tell me who I'm working with and part of a team, but then I'll crack on. And it's incredible. And some people, they still kind of don't believe it. They're like, you're giving me space just to do things. They're like, this is so weird. I'm like, shouldn't be weird, but it is weird. It's not for everybody. And I think it's not a one size fits all thing. So if you living with 3 people and you work from the kitchen table, but so are other 2 people, and like there's certain environments that are conducive to it and certain that aren't. And this has also allowed us, we've gone from being a London-based company to actually having people across the UK. So there's only 3 of us in London now. And the London coffee scene and mentality is very different to the rest of the UK. And ultimately, if we want to serve the UK coffee drinker, we need to have points of view from across the country. So what better way than your team coming from all sorts, and what one sees as posh, the other one sees as below standard. But it's these kind of coming together of these nuances that actually allow us to not have a one-minded view of stuff. And we get skill sets from all over the country. We get to tap into talent pools that wouldn't have access to.
What is the thing you're most proud of to date about CafePod so far?
Creating, actually 2 things. Creating a product that people genuinely love. Like that when the coffee we make, when people feed back to us, they go, oh my God, this is amazing. Like that's ultimately what we set out to do. And the second thing is creating an environment or a business that people, my team can come in and engage with something and be challenged and try and be, or an opportunity to be the best version of themselves and kind of be part of a team doing some cool stuff. And, there's nothing better than seeing people who over time just evolve and grow and do more than they ever thought capable. And I'm a big believer in people. I think that everybody's got incredible potential in themselves, and sometimes just being able to create that space and just a bit of encouragement and challenging. I think everybody can do far more than they think they can. So that's been quite exciting to see that and just be part of that myself.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all those insights so far. Obviously, one thing I do love to do on this podcast is to ask a couple of questions from our really good conversations pack. So I've got 3 questions that I'm going to ask you. Question number 1, what would you choose to do on a day off if you had no other commitments?
So I'm not somebody who struggles to like fill my time with there's plenty of stuff I could I love to do. At the moment, I'm trying to learn how to play golf. So I'm really enjoying the process of trying to understand the different components, and I can hack my way around, but I want to be able to get out there and enjoy it with my friends and not be the embarrassing person who's causing things to take twice as long. So I would happily go either to the driving range or practice or play all day, every day.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. Alex is quite a fan of the golf as well, and he keeps saying that I need to get more into it. And he's like, golf is like an investment, because if you start it now, it's obviously a long time to really get good at. He said, so Amy, when you are in your old age, you'll actually be good. If you leave it too late to start, he said. So
wise words.
Yeah, so I go headed down to the driving range now and again, but there's so many things to think about, the posture, that this, that, the other. I'm like,
it's part of the challenge.
Exactly. But on a good thing, I guess, in terms of to not think perhaps about work stuff, you're so focused on what you're doing, you are in the moment with it. I can see the benefits of it there. Right, this is the question number 2. What is the closest you have come to death in your life?
Ooh, cycling to work every day in London.
Yes.
I used to for years cycle into work and back. I'm trying to think if there's any specific instant outside of that. Oh, I'm sure there has been, but I'll go with that for now because I'm pretty sure there was some pretty hair-raising moments.
I can imagine. Question number 3. What do you know about your family history?
I know. So I've got quite a big family, so I know a bit. But considering I think my mom's got 12 brothers and sisters, good solid Irish family.
Wow.
And my dad's side is 5 siblings. So, and I didn't grow up. I grew up in South Africa. My mom was originally from Dublin. So I didn't grow up with family around. So I've met them and got to know some of them over time. But a lot of the inner details I'm not as familiar as somebody who might have kind of grown up down the road from their aunts and uncles and cousins, etc., etc. So not enough, I suppose, is the answer to that.
Well, you can use some prompts from our question cards to dig around and find out. And the last question that I always like to ask guests to have a little think about: if you could ask any person, dead or alive, a question, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
I mean, there's so many people you could. I'm going to go with a slightly cliched one, but I feel like it's appropriate because I'm from South Africa, and it's quite relevant in my childhood and growing up, and even in the world today. And so it would be Nelson Mandela. And I suppose the question would be, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? Because he spent a long time in jail. On reflection, was that a productive use of time? But there's a million sliding doors and all that kind of stuff. So I think there would be an interesting question on reflection. Would he have taken different tacks at different points to achieve what he did in a quicker time, or I don't know, like that could be. I think it wouldn't be a straightforward answer, which is probably why I'd ask the question.
How can people find out more about yourself and CafePod?
So you can check us out on our website, cafepod.com. We are on Instagram and Facebook and all the usual suspects. So check us out there. If you want to know anything, just pop us an email at hello@cafepod.com. Happy to have a chat and talk coffee or whatever else.
Brilliant.
Try the coffee. It's amazing.
And for purchasing, people can actually buy your product directly from yourself and in retailers as well?
Yeah, so you can buy from our website, which is cafepod.com. And then we are available in Waitrose and Tesco's. And then you can buy us on Amazon and Ocado. So
Brilliant.
pretty good options there for wherever you like to shop.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, I certainly hope there's an opportunity down the line where you can make me a coffee and we do an in-person taste test.
Sounds good.
I would be delighted to know what is a wow coffee experience. I've got to admit, there's not many I've had in the UK that has left me with a wow experience when I've purchased some.
If you want something done right, do it yourself. So
it seems that way. Thank you so much for your time today. I've really appreciate all the insights, learnings that you've shared with both myself and our listeners.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for the chat and thanks for the invites. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guests. And if really good conversations are your thing, hit subscribe and join us next time for more business journeys, insights and banter.